I've got my August reading wrap-up today, and it's going to be slightly less interesting because pretty much everything I read was from the library, so I don't have any of them here to show you, and you guys know I don't edit. So, yeah. But I have my list for Goodreads, or on Goodreads, over here, so I can tell you guys what I read. And maybe I can, like, show you or something. The first book that I read, I'm just going to put this on my lap so I can see what I'm doing. The first book that I read in August is Kicking It, and it is edited by Faith Hunter. It's an anthology of a bunch of short stories. It's got stories by Helena Price, Rachel Kane, Chloe Neal, Rob Thurman, Shannon Butcher, Lucian Diver, Christina Henry, Chris Marie Green, in it, and it's just this anthology of short stories from a bunch of different urban fantasy authors. I really enjoyed it. I love books like this. It's a really good way to get started on a new series or to read short stories from a series you already enjoy. I think this one, the theme was like most of the stories had something to do with a pair of shoes or something like that. So that was cool. And it has stories from, let's see, it is 2.5 in the Alex Craft series, 8.25 in the Chicagoland Vampires series, 0.5 in the Trickster series, 6.4 in the Vampire Babylon series, number 3 in the Holly and Andrew series, number 6.1 in the Jane Yellow Rock series, number 2.5 in the Black Wings series. So, anthologies are always like that. They've got a bunch of different series and stuff, well, at least the ones I read. And, yeah, it was really good, really enjoyed it. And I've been working on some of the series' Stop Chewing from the book. Excuse me. The next thing I read was a graphic novel, and that is Doctor Who Through Time and Space, edited by Denton Tipton, Justin Eisinger, and Mariah Huner. Written by Leah Moore, John Reppion, Ben Temple-Smith, Tony Lee, Paul Grist. There's a lot of names. Just look it up on Goodreads. And it's not part of one of the main comic arcs. It's a graphic novel, but it's a bind-up of the comics, of the Doctor Who comics. But it's not the main comic arcs, like, okay, these are all 9
side
or
story.
10 or whatever. It's an additional story. So this one's got the Doctor and Martha in it, 10 and Martha. And it's got actually 6 different stories in it.
It's called a side story in, like, manga and stuff like that. It's called a gaiden. So,
okay.
Same idea.
Anyway, it was really good. Really enjoyed it. Some of the art in it, though, I wish I had it here to show you, but some of the art I wasn't too fond of, but I still enjoyed the stories. Man, this wax melts smell good. Let's see. The next thing I read was The Elite by Kiera Cass. That's book number 2 in the Selection series. And this is a series, I'm not going to talk very much about this book because it's the second one, but this series is kind of dystopia and kind of not. It doesn't read like you would think a dystopia, like Hunger Games or something like that, but it is set in a country that is North America. In the future, stuff happened, and now this is what we've got. So it's dystopia in that way. And there's royalty, and the prince is supposed to find his bride through what's called a selection, and 35 girls, 1 from each province, apply and are brought in, and then he narrows them down, and so on and so forth. So this is book 2, so we've got it narrowed down to like 6 girls or something. And it's really good. I enjoy it. It's one of those kinds of books where you read it and you're like, this was really good. I got through it really fast. I really enjoyed it. But stop barking. But it's also like...
She's not beating the dog. It's just a light slap on the shoulder.
Yeah. It's also like, this is not going to be Pride and Prejudice. This is like this thing that you read that's good, that everybody enjoys, but it's not going to be around forever, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to explain it. It's good. Some people call them like trash books, like you read it and it's good and you enjoy it, but it's not really worth anything in a literary way. I wouldn't call it a trash book because I did really enjoy the story, and I do like the universe.
It's kind of like popcorn.
Yeah, like popcorn, I guess.
Yeah, there is such a thing as popcorn sci-fi. That's the same thing.
The next thing I read was another Doctor Who graphic novel. It's called Hyperion, which is book 3. When I call them Doctor Who graphic novels, they are comic bind-ups. But once they're bind-ups, I call them graphic novels. It's easier on my brain, so you know what I'm talking about. Whatever. Anyway, this is book 3 in the 12th Doctor arc. And this has the 12 and Clara. And it's got stories about the Hyperions, which is, I am behind in my Doctor Who watching. But it's a race I hadn't heard of. They're really interesting. I really enjoyed this story. I don't remember. I think I liked the art in this one as well. So, I would definitely recommend any of the Doctor Who comics, comic bind-ups, graphic novels, whatever. The old ones, the new ones. There's some of them that I'm not as fond of the art, but I really enjoy all of them that I read. The next thing I read was another Doctor Who graphic novel. Oh, the Hyperion one was by Robbie Morrison. The next one I read was with 10, and it's Series 3 of the graphic novels, Volume 4. It's called Dead Man's Hand by Tony Lee. This one is 10 or 12. This is the Doctor and Claire, but I'm pretty sure that was Amy. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it was 11 and Amy, although I don't know. Anyway, it's got Oscar Wilde and Calamity Jane. It's set in the West, in the U.S., and it's in Deadwood. It's got Wild Bill Hickok, and then, of course, Aliens, because it's Doctor Who. Really good, really enjoyed it. I showed Alex some of it and like a few of the panels, and he seemed to enjoy those as well. He didn't read the whole thing, just a couple panels that I thought he'd find interesting. And there's also a short story about Alcatraz with the Doctor in it, so that was really good too.
I don't like 11, but I like Deadwood.
You guys know I'm not really good at synopses, but I'm trying, so points for that. The next thing I read was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald, who is the same person, the same author that wrote The Great Gatsby. I did not know Curious Case of Benjamin Button was a book until I heard about it last month. And furthermore, I did not know it was a story by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I really enjoyed Great Gatsby, so I went ahead and picked this up from the library. It's a very short story. It's like maybe 100 pages. So it didn't take any time at all to read. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I've seen the movie years ago. And it's one of those rare things where if you compare the book and the movie, they got a lot of differences and you're just going to be disappointed. But not to the level of Princess Bride, but similar to Princess Bride. If you look at the movie and the book separately, you can thoroughly enjoy both of them. There's a lot of things that are different in the book than in the movie. And it having been so long since I watched the movie, it was easier for me to keep the two things separate. And I really enjoyed the book. I would definitely recommend reading it, whether you've watched the movie or not, or plan to or not. Definitely recommend reading the book. Like I said, it's like 100 pages. It's a really short read. It's really good. The copy I had some really nice illustrations as well. The movie it's like if you read the book and took notes, but the kind of notes where you only put a word here and there and then came up with your own thing. It's like that. it's totally good. If you've seen the movie, you'll know the basics of what's going to happen in the book, but it's different enough that you can still enjoy both of them in a separate way. I'm just repeating myself, but definitely recommend this. If you don't know anything about Benjamin Button, it's a story of this kid who is born old and ages backwards, and basically his life and how that affects him and stuff like that. Like I said, it's really good. The next thing I read was another Doctor Who graphic novel, and this one is also from the 12th Doctor arc, and it is by Robbie Morrison again, and it's number 4 in the 12th Doctor arc. It's 12 and Clara. Comics year 2 issues number 1 through 5, it says, if that helps anybody. This one's called The School of Death. This had the Sea Devils in it, so any old Who fans might be familiar with the Sea Devils. So I haven't actually seen the old Sea Devils episodes, but I know about them, and it was really cool to see them in graphic novel, and I'm hoping that that means that there's something about them in the new series, but like I said, I'm behind my watching. Loved this. Again, recommend it. Enjoyed the artwork. Yeah, that's that. I've already determined I'm not good at this, but I'm trying. Okay, the next thing I read was Black Wings by Christina Henry. This is the first book in the Black Wings series. It's about a girl who's an agent of death. So she's basically like a Grim Reaper, or Reaper, or whatever, but it's like this big bureaucratic agency that she works for and everything, and it's a thing that she inherited from her mother. It's a genetic job. You're stuck with it, but you don't get paid for it, so you have to do something else and all of that. She's got a pet gargoyle who's pretty cool, and then stuff starts happening. I don't want to spoil anything, but she finds out she's not just human and agent of death, put it that way. She's got some other stuff in there that makes her magic have some more oomph and some other stuff. So it's really good. If you like urban fantasy, I really enjoyed this. As you can see by the next 3 books I read, which are little novellas, Night Out by Christina Henry is a novella of book 1.5, A Good Bargain, same author, book 1.6, and Aren't You Glad You Didn't Turn on the Lights, same author, book 0.6, which I didn't read before the other 2 because it got misplaced on my Kindle somehow. I don't know. Anyway, I read all 3 of those novellas next, and I really enjoyed them as well. They're just little short story things you can get off her website. I did the print to Kindle thing, so that's why, because it's hard on my eyes to read on here. But yeah, like I said, I'm really enjoying the series. I've got the 2nd book ordered from the library, and I can't wait to read it. Then the last thing I read in August was the one which is book 3 in the selection series that I mentioned earlier by Kiera Cass. This was originally a trilogy, but now there are a couple more books. There's 5 books and then a book of like short stories. So I'm still really enjoying the series. I'm working on book 4 right now, and there's a book with the novellas in it that I've got ordered from the library as well. So that's everything I read in August. If you guys read any of this stuff and want to talk about it, have questions, or just have questions in general, or anything, put that in the comments. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear what you guys read this month, etc., etc. If you have any reading recommendations for me, I'd love to hear those as well. Alex is filming me. What did you read this month? Did you have anything you wanted to talk about?
Not in this video. I have quite a headache.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.